Ah, yes. Grave of the Fireflies. Anyone who's been on an internet thread where someone asked what movie broke you the most knows this one. Seriously, we are about to watch our two innocent main characters go from this
Fruit drop. Fruit drop, fruit drop, fruit
to
drop.
this.
Here, have one.
Yeah, it's gonna be one of those videos. Grave of the Fireflies is a 1988 Studio Ghibli movie directed by Isao Takahata and based on a semi-autobiographical short story by Akiyuki Nosaka, who someone should probably go check on. The film is one of Studio Ghibli's lesser-known movies, and a big reason for that probably has something to do with the dark tone of the movie. While Ghibli is famous for its fantastical worlds, incredible adventures, and unbelievably tasty-looking food, Grave of the Fireflies, on the other hand, is a harsh and unrelenting look at the horrors of war. I know it may not sound as fun as a giant moving castle or a bus that's also a cat, but in my mind, it's maybe the most important story they've ever told. So grab your tear bucket and let's get into it. Before we get too far though, let's introduce our two main characters. We've got 14-year-old big brother Seita and his adorable 4-year-old sister Setsuko. There are a few other characters that'll come up, but surprisingly, these are the only two whose names we ever learn. With that out of the way, let's jump in. The movie starts and we open on Seita, a young boy in a uniform, and he lets us know with his very first line of dialogue just what kind of movie this is gonna be. Hey Seita, do you remember the 21st night of September?
September 21st, 1945. That was the night I died.
I guess he does. Damn. And he's not kidding in the slightest. As Seita looks around, we see that he is in a train station looking down at his own body. And he does not look good. He's malnourished and barely breathing. But the other people in the station couldn't care less, as they all walk right past him. One person is kind enough to give him some food, but Seita doesn't even have the strength to eat. He collapses to the ground and is only able to say one word: Setsuko. Seita isn't alone either, as we see the train station is filled with starving people. A janitor searches Seita's body and only finds a rusty tin, which he throws into the grass outside. Suddenly, all around the tin, hundreds of fireflies start to appear, as well as the spirit of Setsuko herself. She sees her brother's body in the distance and starts to run towards it, but is stopped by Seita's ghost. He picks up the rusty old tin, and it turns back into the shiny tin of candy it originally was. The two sibling spirits hold hands, board an empty train, and share some fruit drops. They look out the window and see a fleet of planes raining bombs down onto Japan. Like I said, it's not exactly a comfort movie. Hopefully that opening didn't destroy you too much, as we still have a long way to go. And it's time to go back and see what exactly brought these two siblings to this tragic end. The movie flashes back and we're in the final months of World War II. We see American bomber planes flying over the village where Seita and Setsuko live with their sick mother. Seita is frantically preparing for the air raid by burying food in the yard, and tells his mother to start heading towards the bomb shelter while him and Setsuko grab the last few things that they need. He ties Setsuko onto his back and grabs both Setsuko's doll and a picture of their father, who was a captain in the Japanese Navy. Unfortunately, Seita isn't moving fast enough, and just as they are leaving their house, firebombs start to hit and set everything ablaze. He runs through the burning village, and it is absolute chaos. People are being trampled, horses are going crazy, and Seita can't even make it to the shelter as the entrance is blocked by a huge mob of people. So he takes Setsuko to the beach, and from there, they can see the coastline burning as far as their eyes can see. The two finally find refuge on a hillside, where Seita tries to reassure Setsuko that their mother made it to the shelter and they'll meet up with her soon. Setsuko has lost one of her shoes in all of the commotion, but Seita promises to take her to buy a new pair soon.
I lost one of my shoes.
I'll buy you even better ones.
That's such a good big brother. It starts to rain, and Seita decides it's time for them to go look for their mother. As they climb the hillside, they see their entire village has been reduced to ash. Damn, things just keep getting worse. Seita tells Setsuko not to worry, and that their father will make the Americans pay for this. Now, I may not be the biggest history buff, but I think he might be a bit off on that one. The pair then search through crowds of survivors for their mom, with no luck. They see many dead bodies, but fortunately, none of them belong to their mother. Setsuko gets some ash in her eyes, and the two head to an elementary school where first aid is being given. At the school, one of Seita's neighbors tells him that his mother was seriously injured during the attack, so he leaves Setsuko with the neighbor and goes to find his mother. When he does find her, however, Seita learns that she has suffered horrible burns over her entire body. She's completely covered in bloody bandages and unrecognizable to Seita. An officer tells Seita that unless they can transfer her to a real hospital soon, there's not much anyone can do to help her. Back outside, Seita lies to Setsuko by telling her that their mother is only slightly injured and will recover soon. Setsuko starts to cry, and Seita, being the capital B big bro that he is, does a sick gymnastics routine to try and cheer her up.
Watch me! I'm good at this!
Setsuko, how are you missing this? Bro could have been a gold medalist in another life. Tragically, Seita and Setsuko's mother passes away soon after. Seita goes by himself to watch as her body is cremated in a mass grave. Seita hides their mother's death from his little sister and tells her they are going to live with their aunt only until their mother recovers. Their aunt seems kind enough at first, but she's clearly not too crazy about having 2 more mouths to feed.
Lucky your dad's in the Navy. You get to have a truck help move you over here.
Yeah. Lucky. That's exactly the word I would use. The next day, Seita heads over to the rubble that used to be his house. He's able to find the supplies he buried in the yard, including some pickled plums and that tin of candy. He brings the food back to his aunt, who seems kinda annoyed that Seita and Setsuko had ingredients that are hard to come by in the village. Seriously? Being jealous of 2 orphans whose house just burnt down? Yeah, I'm getting some really bad vibes off of this aunt. Later, Seita and Setsuko take a bath and go catch some fireflies together, and I'd say the two have earned this much-needed break. The only one who doesn't think so is their auntie. She tells Seita he should be in school, but ma'am, the school burned down. She tells Seita he should be going to work at the steel mill, but ma'am, the steel mill burned down. Well, you've just got an answer for everything, don't you, Seita? Seita tries his best to keep smiling and having fun for Setsuko's sake, despite constant air raids and trips to the shelter. While at the beach one day, Setsuko starts following a crab and ends up stumbling upon a dead body.
Don't look at that.
Whoa.
As hard as Seita is trying, even a child like Setsuko cannot be fully sheltered from the horrors of war. Back at home, Seita's aunt has decided to trade his mother's kimonos for a bag of rice, since, well, she doesn't need them anymore. This upsets Setsuko, who still doesn't know the truth about her mother. I don't see her complaining when she's wolfing down that rice, though. Eventually, Auntie decides that she has had enough of these freeloaders. She calls Seita a lazy slug and tells him that if he wants to keep eating, he's gonna have to start pitching in more.
Do you do anything to earn it? No. You absolutely do not.
My reaction exactly, Seita. When Setsuko points out that it's their own rice that they've been sharing with their aunt, she accuses them of being ungrateful and tells them they'll have to make their own dinner from now on. Now, I don't know about you all, but for me, this aunt just officially became the antagonist of this movie. Get it? Antagonist? Seriously though, this is one of the toughest moments of the film for me. While their aunt's actions may be heartless, the circumstances of war haven't really given her much choice, as she can barely afford to feed her own family. Seita somehow manages to stay positive though. If making his own dinner is what he's gotta do for him and his sister, then that's what he'll do. Him and Setsuko go to the bank to withdraw some money from their mother's account and use it to buy themselves a stove and utensils. This angers their aunt even more, who feels like they're just flexing on her by buying a new stove, even though it's literally what she told them to do. I understand it's a hard time for everyone, but damn lady, you really need to work on your empathy skills. The last straw comes when Seita and Setsuko are yelled at by their aunt simply for playing piano and having fun.
Don't you realize that there's a war going on? You two are nothing but trouble for me.
Don't you realize that they are literal children? Let them have fun. Even Seita has finally had enough of his aunt constantly bitching at him anytime he does anything, and he decides it's time for him and Setsuko to move out. Fortunately, he is able to find a luxurious, zero-bed, zero-bath, abandoned bomb shelter for them to live in. Their first night in the shelter, Setsuko is afraid of how dark it is at night, so Seita decides to catch some fireflies and release them inside. The siblings watch in wonder as hundreds of fireflies dance around inside the shelter, creating beautiful patterns and constellations. Seita is reminded of a naval parade he saw when he was younger, and wonders to himself if his father is even still alive. In the morning, Seita awakens to find Setsuko digging a grave to bury the dead fireflies in. She reveals to him that their aunt has already told her the truth about their mother's death. Seita breaks down in tears and promises they can go visit her grave together when the war is over, to which Setsuko asks,
Why do fireflies have to die so soon?
This is one of the most devastating scenes in the movie, and where it gets its haunting title. I'm pretty sure it was also the inspiration for the Owl City song Fireflies, but don't quote me on that. Eventually, the siblings run out of food, and even though they still have some money, they can't find anyone with enough food that they're willing to sell some. A nearby farmer tells Seita he should just swallow his pride and beg his aunt to take him back in. But Seita isn't willing to do that, and as if they didn't have enough going on the way home, the siblings are shot at by an American plane. They dive into a vegetable garden to avoid it, and even though the food belongs to someone else, Seita is desperate enough to steal, and the pair grab as many tomatoes and potatoes as they can carry. They then bump into a policeman while carrying the stolen food and run away before he can ask where they got it. Get those tissue boxes ready, because this is where things go from bad to worse. Setsuko tells Seita that she is feeling sick and has been having diarrhea. Seita knows that she isn't getting the nutrition she needs, so he heads to a farm in the dead of night to steal some sugarcane for her. God's not ready to cut Seita any slack though, and he gets caught by a farmer who beats him and takes him to the police despite him begging and saying that his sister will die without him.
I'll take you there myself. Now walk!
No,
I
please.
hope they lock you up.
Please, she's sick.
Seita!
She needs me.
Move!
This guy really thinks he's a hero for protecting everyone from the true threat in this village. Starving children. Classy. The police officer, who is one of the few decent adults we meet in this movie, is sympathetic to Seita's situation and threatens to charge the farmer with assault for beating Seita. Though the harsh reality is, there's not much he can do for Seita besides just letting him go. Seita finds Setsuko waiting for him outside the police station, and all he can do is cry and hold on to his baby sister, knowing just how hard it will be to continue providing for the both of them. Pretty soon, Seita's desperation has driven him to fully embrace his criminal ways. He steals from houses during air raids while everyone is at the shelters. Meanwhile, Setsuko continues to get sicker. One day, after failing to trade his stolen goods for food, Seita returns to the shelter and finds Setsuko collapsed on the ground. He takes her to a doctor who barely looks her over before only saying what Seita already knew, that Setsuko is malnourished and needs more food or she will soon die. I swear, I have never felt guiltier about eating Cheetos while watching a movie. Seita carries the frail Setsuko back to their shelter, and along the way he asks her to list all the food she wants to eat. Setsuko begs Seita to stay by her side, but he tells her he has to go withdraw the last of their mother's money to buy food. At the bank, Seita overhears that Japan has surrendered to the Allies, and that the entire Japanese navy has been destroyed, confirming his fears that his father is most likely dead. He arrives back at the shelter with food, only to find Setsuko gravely ill. She's delirious and sucking on marbles that she thinks are candy. Seita gives Setsuko some watermelon and goes outside of the shelter to make some rice. But for Setsuko, it's too late. We knew this was coming, but that doesn't make it any less heart-wrenching. Setsuko was pure childlike innocence in human form, and seeing her suffer such a tragic fate all because of a war started by mankind's cruelest instincts is one of those movie moments that has the power to truly deeply affect someone. I know it affected me. Seita cremates Setsuko's body along with her straw doll. As he does, he is surrounded by people celebrating the end of the war. But while the war may have finally ended, it took everything from Seita before it did. He puts Setsuko's ashes into the candy tin, and not long after, with no more reason to live, Seita himself dies at the train station. The movie ends with the ghosts of the two siblings looking down at modern-day Japan, surrounded by dancing fireflies. Well, that was Grave of the Fireflies. It's no mystery why this is one of Studio Ghibli's lesser-known films. It's an extremely depressing watch, and honestly, probably one of the saddest movies of all time. If you're able to get through that though, it is an incredibly powerful depiction of the highest and lowest of what mankind is capable of. The film's director has actually gone on record saying that this is not an anti-war movie, but after watching it, it's hard for me to see war as anything other than a massively destructive force of our worst instincts. But what did you think? Is war the true culprit in this movie? Would things be better if Seta went back to his aunt? And seriously, is there anyone out there who was able to get through this one without shedding at least a few tears? Leave a comment, don't forget to like and subscribe, and like always, we'll see you next time.